The stars beyond the viewport glittered like distant eyes, cold and indifferent. Commander Elias Kale stood with both hands gripping the steel railing of the ICS Resolute's command deck. Beneath him, the tactical map flickered in holographic red, marking hostile signatures approaching the Helios system. Dominion fleets confirmed, the sensor officer reported. His voice cracked, but his hands never slowed across the console. 5 formations massing at the edge of the Oort cloud. Estimated strength 300 warships. The room went silent. The Resolute was one of only 40 human vessels in system, many of them hastily converted civilian freighters strapped with missile racks. Outnumbered nearly 10 to 1. Kale let the silence hang until it settled like dust in the lungs. Then he exhaled through his teeth. 300 ships. All that trouble just for us. Either they're terrified or they're fools. A ripple of uneasy laughter flickered through the crew. They needed it. His executive officer, Lieutenant Duran, leaned close. Sir, with respect, we can't win this straight fight. Helios 9 doesn't have the resources. We should begin evacuation. Kale's gaze dropped to the planet rotating below. Helios 9 was no paradise, storm-racked skies, endless oceans boiling with lightning. But buried beneath its crust were metals and exotic elements Earth's industries relied on. More than that, it was home to 3 million souls who had clawed their lives out of the dirt and storms. People who believed humanity belonged out here, not just caged near Earth. He shook his head. We can't run. If Helios falls, the Dominion gains a clear path to the core. Earth will have months, maybe weeks, before they burn through. No. We hold. Duran stiffened, then nodded. Orders were orders. Half a system away, aboard a sleek obsidian vessel, High Strategist Veiltorax studied the same stars from his throne of glass and steel. His mandibles clicked as data scrolled across layered holograms. The Dominion's fleet arched around him like a predator's jaw about to close. His general stood in a crescent behind him, for species bound by alliance and arrogance. Human resistance will crumble, hissed one, scales rippling. They lack numbers, discipline, unity. Veiltorax's compound eyes narrowed. Do not underestimate them entirely. Their history is littered with wars of madness. They consume conflict as they consume worlds. But they are undirected. Emotion clouds them. We will excise them before they spread further. No one disagreed. To challenge Veiltorax's analysis was to invite humiliation. He had never lost a campaign. Back aboard the Resolute, Kale convened his war council in the strategy chamber. Holographic projectors painted the system in shifting blue and red. Senior captains gathered around the table, the weight of impossible odds heavy on every face. The Dominion has the numbers, Kale began. They'll come in fast, try to overwhelm before we can organize. We won't give them that luxury. He expanded a section of the asteroid belt near Helios's third moon. We mine this field, hide gunboats among the rocks. When their vanguard advances, we cut them apart before they realize what's happening. Captain Merrick frowned. And when their main force arrives? Kale smiled without humor. Then we make them bleed again. And again. We'll make them believe every rock in this system has teeth. Merrick looked unconvinced, but no one argued further. They had no better ideas. That night, Kale walked the civilian sector of Helios 9. Makeshift barricades lined streets. Miners welded armor plates to haulers. Families huddled in shelters beneath the storms. An old woman stopped him, her face weathered as the cliffs outside. Commander, she rasped. They say we should run. Is it true? He crouched to her level, his eyes steady. We can't run. If we give up this ground, they'll take everything else. We'll hold here. Together. Her hand gripped his sleeve with surprising strength. Then we'll fight with you. It wasn't bravado. It was conviction. And Kale knew then that this world would not fall quietly. Hours later, alarms shrieked. Dominion ships pierced the system's edge, the first wave of war. Kale returned to the bridge, boots echoing like hammers. Status? Vanguard formation, 20 destroyers, 8 cruisers, reported Duran. Kale leaned over the tactical map. The asteroid field pulsed on the display like a waiting predator. Signal the fleet. Begin Operation Iron Net. And tell the miners to get their fireworks ready. On cue, hidden mines detonated among the asteroids. The void lit with sudden fire as Dominion destroyers shattered under debris and shrapnel. Human frigates burst from concealment, spitting torpedoes and railgun fire. Targets disabled, an officer shouted. 6 Dominion vessels down in the opening strike. The crew roared. Kale's grin was wolfish. Good. Now hit them again before they realize they're fighting ghosts. The battle turned savage. Dominion cruisers unleashed lances of plasma, vaporizing 2 human ships in moments. The ICS Sparrowhawk split in half, scattering screams across comms before silence. Kale didn't flinch. He had no time for grief. Redirect fire! Push them deeper into the belt! The fight became a knife brawl in the dark, wreckage spinning through asteroid shadows. Human ships burned bright but struck viciously. A Dominion cruiser cracked apart under concentrated fire, its explosion illuminating the chaos like a dying sun. After 30 minutes, silence returned. Of the 28 Dominion ships, more than half were gone. The survivors limped out of range, retreating to regroup. On the bridge, the crew cheered. Even Duran allowed himself a relieved laugh. Kale didn't join them. He stared at the shifting red haze at the edge of the map. This had been only the opening hand, the Dominion probing their defenses. The main force, hundreds of warships, was still out there, biding time. Don't celebrate yet, he said quietly. The words cut through the noise. They'll be back. And next time, they'll come with everything. He turned back to the viewport. Beyond the storms of Helios 9, stars burned with pitiless light. His reflection stared back at him, eyes dark with resolve. You think you know war? He murmured to himself, the words meant for the enemy as much as his own weary soul. You haven't seen anything yet. The wreckage of the Dominion vanguard drifted silently among the asteroids, glowing embers against the dark. The Resolute's crew basked in the afterglow of victory, but Elias Kale didn't allow himself that luxury. He knew predators never gave up after the first bite. Report, he ordered. Casualties, 7 ships lost, 3 crippled, Duran said grimly. Enemy retreating beyond sensor range. But they'll return in force. They will, Kale said. And when they do, this system will burn. 2 days later, the Dominion Armada arrived. 300 ships emerged from the void in precise formation, war banners pulsing with cold alien light. They spread like a net around Helios 9, encircling the planet and its fragile human defenders. On his flagship, Vale Torak observed without emotion. His claw tapped on the armrest as the human defenses lit the darkness with desperate fire. Predictable, he murmured. They will resist until their hope collapses. Then they will kneel, or die. On Helios 9, panic swept through the colony. Families crowded shelters carved into the rock. Miners reinforced tunnels, welding crude barricades. Civilians demanded evacuation ships that didn't exist. Kale stood before them in the storm-battered assembly dome. His uniform was scorched from battle, but his voice carried iron. I won't lie to you. They outnumber us. They want this world erased. But we will not give it to them. You've survived worse than storms and hunger. You know how to fight for every breath. That's what will save us now. A miner shouted. What about our children? Kale looked him in the eye. They go first. Every transport we have will carry the young, the sick, the unarmed. Soldiers will stay. I will stay. We don't abandon ground. Not today. The chamber fell into silence, and then rough voices answered as one. Not today. The siege began with fire from the skies. Dominion cruisers rained plasma bolts across Helios's upper atmosphere. Lightning storms ignited, feeding on the heat, turning skies into violent oceans of electricity. Orbital strikes burned through mining towers, reduced outposts to molten slag. Kale's fleet scrambled in response. His ships darted from cover to cover, unleashing torpedoes before retreating into storm-blind zones. Every ambush bought time, every casualty slowed the inevitable. The Dominion pressed harder. Precision mattered little against Cale's improvisation. He drove them into narrow orbits where the planet's storms interfered with their targeting systems. "Use the weather," he told his captains. "If they can't see, make them guess." A destroyer proved the tactic's worth. Hiding in storm clouds, it emerged to launch a missile spread that gutted an enemy carrier. The blast scattered debris across the fleet. Humanity roared in defiance. But the victory was costly. The destroyer was immediately engulfed by plasma fire, vanishing in a flare. Durand flinched as the signal went dark. "We can't keep bleeding like this, sir." Cale's jaw hardened. "We'll bleed as long as it takes." While fleets clashed above, the Dominion landed troops on the surface. The first waves came in drop pods, crashing into city ruins like meteors. From the wreckage spilled insectoid infantry, armored quadrupeds, and war machines taller than buildings. Waiting for them were miners in exosuits, wielding plasma drills like lances. Scientists converted seismic charges into traps, detonating them under advancing columns. Streets turned into trenches, every tunnel a fortress. In one skirmish, a Dominion commander broadcast demands for surrender. "Lay down arms. Your defiance is meaningless." A miner spat blood and answered over the comm. "You want this ground? You'd better choke on every meter." The line held. Cale coordinated from orbit, his attention split between space and soil. Every report was another wound: civilians trapped in collapsing shelters, militia cut off in storm tunnels, fleets ground down by attrition. Then came the worst blow. The ICS Valiant, a heavy cruiser and cornerstone of his defense, was surrounded by Dominion warships. Its captain, old friend Eric Hale, patched through one last transmission. "Elias, they've got us boxed in. Can't break clear." Cale's throat tightened. "Pull back, Eric. We'll cover you." "Too late for that." Hale's weathered face softened with a tired smile. "But we can still take some of them with us." Cale's eyes widened. "Don't." The channel cut as the Valiant charged forward, ramming a Dominion carrier. The collision ignited both reactors in a blinding chain of explosions. When the fire cleared, 30 Dominion ships drifted in ruin. On the Resolute's bridge, the crew erupted in cheers. But Cale didn't move. His fists dug into the railing until his knuckles whitened. Hale's voice still echoed in his ears. Durand approached quietly. "He knew what he was doing." Cale's answer came low and hard. "And now the Dominion knows what we'll do to stop them." Vale Torak watched the feed of the destruction with his usual calm. Around him, alien commanders hissed in outrage at the losses. "They are mad," one growled. "They destroyed themselves to wound us." Vale Torak only tapped his claw again. "Not madness. Instinct. Their species thrives on desperation. They burn brightest when cornered. We will starve that fire until nothing remains." As days passed, the siege tightened. Dominion fleets sealed escape routes. Supply lines withered. Hunger gnawed at Helios 9. Civilians rationed to crumbs. Soldiers fought on empty stomachs. Still, no one surrendered. On the command deck, Cale studied the shifting red swarm on the map. His face was pale with fatigue, but his eyes burned steady. "They're settling into siege lines," Durand said. "They'll wait us out. Starve us, crush us slow." Cale didn't answer at first. His gaze drifted toward the storm planet below, lightning arcing across its surface like veins of fury. An idea coiled in his mind, reckless and terrible. Finally, he spoke. "If they want to play war by numbers, then we'll show them how humans play it." The words carried across the deck, quiet but sharp. Officers turned to him, half in fear, half in anticipation. They had learned that when Cale's voice dropped that low, it meant something drastic was coming. He looked each of them in the eye. "Get me a full layout of the mining reactors on Helios 9. If we can't hold this world, then we'll weaponize it." No one spoke. But no one opposed him either. Above them, the Dominion fleet glittered like a steel noose closing tight. Below, Helios's storms roared louder, as if the planet itself sensed what was to come. Cale stood at the viewport, the ghost of Hale's sacrifice etched into his mind. The cost had already been unbearable, but it would climb higher still. And yet, when he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of iron. "Let the galaxy watch," he whispered. "Let them see what it means when humanity refuses to fall." The siege stretched into its fourth week. Helios 9 groaned under the weight of hunger and fire. Supply caches dwindled to scraps. Civilians ate roots boiled in stormwater. Soldiers fought in rags, ammunition rationed to single rounds. Cale stood on the Resolute's bridge, his reflection gaunt in the viewport glass. The Dominion fleet circled above, patient, waiting for humanity to wither. "Morale is cracking," Duran reported quietly. "Civilians talk surrender. Even some of our captains." Cale didn't flinch. "Let them talk. Words aren't surrender. Actions are. But if the people lose faith, they won't." Cale turned from the viewport, eyes dark as the void. "Because I won't let them." That evening, Cale gathered his senior officers in the war room. The holomap glowed red with enemy signatures, a sea against a handful of blue sparks. He traced a finger across the storm planet below. "We can't outlast them. We can't outgun them. But we can still break them." A murmur rippled through the room. "We overload the mining reactors," Cale continued. "Trigger a chain reaction deep in the mantle. The planet becomes our weapon. Shockwaves will tear their fleets apart." Marek's voice cracked. "That could kill everyone on the surface." "It will kill all of us," Cale answered. "But it will also kill them. And when the galaxy sees what humanity is willing to do, no one will dare push us again." Silence hung heavy. Then, slowly, one by one, his officers nodded. They understood. On the surface, strike teams prepared. Miners, engineers, soldiers, they volunteered without hesitation. Families said goodbyes in storm-battered tunnels, clinging to each other, as though it might be the last time. Cale descended to meet them, walking through the battered colony streets. Men and women looked up as he passed. No speeches this time, only his presence. That was enough. A child pressed a hand to his uniform. "Are we going to win?" Cale crouched, meeting the boy's eyes. "We're going to make sure they never forget us." The final battle began before dawn. Cale launched his fleet in a desperate sortie. Human ships flared from the storm clouds, diving into Dominion formations like wolves among herds. Plasma bolts cut them apart, but every human vessel fought like it had nothing left to lose. On the bridge, Duran's voice was hoarse. "We can't hold this line, sir." Cale's grin was sharp, feral. "We don't need to hold. We just need to keep them watching." The Dominion fleet pressed in, confident the humans were breaking at last. Meanwhile, on the surface, Cale's strike teams fought through Dominion patrols to reach the reactor cores. Tunnels shook with explosions, stormlight flashing through breaches in the rock. Exosuits clashed with alien walkers. Miners ignited charges to bury enemy squads under tons of rubble. At Reactor 3, Sergeant Hale, nephew of the fallen Valiant's captain, opened comms to Cale. His voice was ragged but steady. "We're in position. Detonation charges set." Cale's chest tightened. "You've done enough, son. Get out." Hale chuckled bitterly. "No chance. My uncle went out taking 30 of them. I'll settle for 300. Static swallowed his last words. High strategist Vale Toruk observed the chaos with narrowed eyes. Human ships burned, yet they kept coming, ramming, clawing, tearing chunks from his fleet. It defied logic. "They should have broken by now," one of his sub-commanders hissed. "Why do they not surrender?" Vale Toruk's mandibles clicked. For the first time in decades, unease crept into his chest. "Because they are not fighting to win. They are fighting to scar." Inside the storming planet, reactor alarms screamed. Cale's strike teams sent their last transmissions, charges armed. Timers set. Cale stared at the tactical feed, heart heavy with names he would never see again. His hand hovered over the final authorization. Duran whispered, If we do this, none of us leave. Kale's voice was steady. That was true the moment they came here. He pressed his palm to the console. The world convulsed. Mining reactors detonated in sequence, their energy ripping through the mantle. Storms surged into titanic hurricanes, lightning arcs spanning continents. The planet itself became a weapon, hurling shockwaves into orbit. The Dominion fleet reeled. Hundreds of ships vanished in fire as the chain reaction cascaded through space. Energy ripples tore hulls apart, swallowed formations whole. The night sky over Helios lit like a dying sun, visible across half the sector. On the Resolute, Kale braced against the shuddering deck. Systems failed one by one, alarms screaming. The viewport filled with the blinding fury of a world tearing itself apart. Helm! Kale barked. Point us right at their flagship. The Resolute, battered and burning, drove headlong toward Veiltorok's command ship. On the enemy bridge, the strategist finally rose from his throne. For the first time, fear touched his compound eyes. The Resolute slammed into the Dominion flagship just as the planetary shockwaves swallowed them both. When the storm cleared, Helios 9 was gone, shattered into molten fragments drifting in a halo of wreckage. The Dominion armada was broken, over half its ships annihilated. Survivors scattered in disarray, leaving the system in silence. Across the galaxy, every transmission carried the same message: humanity had destroyed its own world to deny the enemy victory. Veiltorok's name, once synonymous with inevitability, was tarnished forever. And humanity's reputation was sealed. Hours later, among the ruins, an emergency beacon flickered. Against all odds, the Resolute's reinforced command capsule had survived, cast adrift among debris. Inside, battered but alive, Kale opened a broadband channel. His voice was hoarse but unbroken. To the Veiled Dominion, to every species watching, you thought war was numbers, fleets, logic. You thought we would kneel. He leaned closer to the console, eyes burning with feral light. Remember Helios 9. Remember what humans do when cornered. You wanted to know war? This is war. He cut the channel. Silence filled the capsule. Outside, debris spun endlessly in the dark. Kale closed his eyes, exhaustion crushing him, but a grim smile curved his lips. Humanity had survived, not in safety, not in peace, but in fire that no one would ever forget.